welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a review on a new palette from Too Faced. This is the Peanut Butter and Honey palette. This is one of their smaller palettes, so it has 9 colors. The way it's set up is very standard for Too Faced in the sense that it's got 3 bigger colors that are more highlight shades and then 6 smaller colors. And the way that it's designed is that each row is a look. So Sweet as Honey, Queen Bee, and then PB and Honey. Peanut Butter and Honey. The palette itself is a metal palette, so it's made of metal. It has a little lookbook. It includes a look for each of those rows that I mentioned. I always think is nice when they include those because I know sometimes, you know, especially if you're someone who doesn't have a lot of makeup, some of the colors in here can look a little intimidating. For example, Honeybuns. This was, of course, the color that I immediately was like, oh my god, that's amazing, but someone that's not really, you know, super into makeup might look at that and be like, how do you even wear that? So let's do some swatches here. First, we have Creamed Honey. Creamed Honey is a light beigey shade. It's got a little tiny bit of a peachiness to it, and it has some glittery sparkliness on top. It's not super pigmented, but it would work well as a highlight. Next, we have Peanut Butter, which I believe is a shade that has existed before in a chocolate bar palette. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds and looks familiar. This shade has really nice pigmentation, and it's an orangey kind of brown. Definitely got nice orange accents, tones to it, and it's got sort of a satiny finish, so just a little bit of sheen. Last for this row is called Going Nuts. This is the one color in this palette that kind of surprised me because it is more cool toned. It's got kind of purpley vibes going on. More of like a blackened burgundy with a more vibrant violet burgundy sheen to it. The rest of this palette is very warm, so this shade kind of was like, why? Like, I wish it was more of a warm tone because of all the colors here, it's the one that really doesn't fit in for me. The next row we have is the Queen Bee row. First shade is Be Sweet. This is a very pink highlight color. It is matte and it does have a little bit of peachiness as well. It's more pigmented than that first highlighter shade though. Next shade is Honey Brittle. Honey Brittle is super peachy, super orangey peachy. This like is right up my alley. I would like this as a lip color. It's just got really cool coral vibes. And then the last shade for this row is Bee's Knees. This is probably my favorite, or one of my favorite colors here. Almost like a terracotta, and it's got gold accent pearl throughout it. It's got really great pigmentation as well. The last row is the Peanut Butter and Honey row. First color is called Queen Bee, which is kind of weird considering the last row was called Queen Bee, but this shade is called Queen Bee. This color reminds me, the second I looked at it, I was like, this is wallpaper paste. It's pretty pigmented. It's got a definite sheen and like a shimmery frostiness to it, but the color is just like a weird neutrally beige. It's kind of more cool toned than the rest of the highlighters, but it is really pigmented. Next shade is Honeybuns. This color is so cool. Definitely like a yellow, golden yellow. It's more of a deeper shade than a bright, vibrant yellow, but it is still bright and vibrant. That made sense in my head. Definitely matte, but it has good pigmentation. I used it today over a NYX base, and I think that that really helped to make it pop. If you don't want the color to be as vibrant as it looks, then you don't need to use a sticky base like NYX Milk, because I know that something like this is a very unique color that a lot of people aren't used to, so I definitely understand if you don't want to, you know, make it pop. The last shade here is called Feeling Nutty. This is another really warm brown. It's not quite as reddish as the other browns that are in this palette. It has more of a yellowy base. It's more like if you took Honeybuns and like caramelized it in a pan, then it would turn into Feeling Nutty. I baked too much. Overall, pretty good pigmentation. It has a little bit of a satin finish, just like Peanut Butter does. My thoughts here. I don't hate this palette. I actually do think it is pretty unique. Too Faced, sometimes their colors are hit and miss. There are definitely colors here where I'm like, you know, with Going Nuts, that more burgundy, blackish burgundy shade. I don't know why that one's there. Some of the highlighters are a little bit lacking in pigment, but I do appreciate that this palette is a little bit different as far as what Too Faced does. Can't even tell you another palette that I've really seen this be like a highlighting, like not highlighting, but like a star shade. I think that that's really cool. The look I have on today, I used everything in the palette like I try and do when I do reviews like this. I will have a tutorial for this look. Overall, everything applied pretty nicely. The only one I really didn't love is Going Nuts, and I think that that's just because I wasn't sure where to use it. I used it underneath my eyes, and I guess it does fit in with the look. I was a little bit not sure why it was there. I feel like they could have put something, maybe like a chestnut brown, something like that if they wanted to have a darker color. This particular shade doesn't make sense. The other thing is that the colors here are supposed to smell like peanut butter and honey. To me, people get mad at me when I say this, but I don't really love the Too Faced scents. I do not like the chocolate bar palette. The peach palette's okay, but I just would rather my makeup not smell like food. This palette reminds me of if I had peanut butter M&Ms in like a bag and then I forgot about them and then I opened the bag. So I can smell like peanut butter-ishness, but it's not my favorite. But if you like the chocolate bar palette, you'll probably love this. You know, I think it is a palette that I would at least go check out in person, possibly pick up just because of that yellow. I just think it's really cool. I do think that it probably is something that is not going to be for everybody just because it is a little bit more unique. I know I've said that quite a few times, just in the sense that some of these colors are quite pigmented and warm. They're very, very warm. Let me know what your thoughts are. Is this something that you would pick up? Is this something that you're interested in? I will have all of the information about this palette, how much it costs, when it comes out, where you can get it, in the description below. And I will see you next time.